So I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Let's just say, how would you go about this? Let's say I was in charge.
Okay, so you're in charge and you're trying to make money for Hasbro,
Correct.
but you're trying to not be evil and you're
Yep,
not going to try
I have
to.
Chris's job.
You have Chris Cow's job
Yes.
with everything you know
Yes.
about those markets,
Yep.
but it's Steven Glicker and not Chris
Correct.
Cow. So you want to support, you know about the community, you want to support
Yes.
the community
Yes.
and the third party publishers. What would you do, Steven?
I would do what people already do in this market, and this being the software engineering market. Is the first thing you would do beforehand is you would have an all hands meeting with all the base publishers. And not only would I have an all hands meeting, I would probably fly them out and like wine and dine them. I would not do it online. I would not do it through Zoom. We would go somewhere nice and bring them all out there, spend money on them, and actually say, look, here's our plan. And I would be dead honest with them and say, we're doing this. We're making 6th edition. We're making an online VTT, and we want you to move on to it. So we would like to sunset, it's called sunsetting. I would like you to sunset all support of 5th edition materials, and we'll give you 3 to 5 years. And I would probably talk to them about that. And you would say, look, I know you have books planned for this year and next year and probably the year after. So we'll give you time and we will work with you. And we'll give you 3 to 5 years. I'd probably try to push 3 if I could, but 4 or 5 is more realistic, but probably 3, and say, look, we are going to give you the tools. We are going to give you all this. And you outline in a really nice razzle-dazzle video, and you sit down and you truly talk to them and show that you are trying to work with them. And you say, look, we get it. We're all in this together, and we're all going to succeed or fail together. This is our plans. How can we work with you so that we all do well, that we don't sacrifice you, on the altar of money? And I won't say it like that. And let's figure this out, because this is what we're planning. What tools and what ways can we make this easier for you so that you can develop for our products going forward for 6th edition and our VTTs? This is how it's done.
Steven, let me be your GM.
Okay.
You're role playing as the Chris Cow character,
yes.
but except for that it's you, Steven Glicker. Yes. I'm going to be your GM. So I'm going to say, you succeed at your check.
Okay.
You have credibility. People know that you like to work together with them, and you use the same techniques Ryan Dancy may have used before. And you convince people that that you're legitimate in this, and you get the other VTTs and third parties on board. They tell you what they need, and you even get that to them. And then you put out Sandcastle, and you're trying to make however much money you're trying to make from it. And some other VTT comes in, and they're not as many features as Sandcastle, and they're not the official one, but it's really cheap compared to whatever you're trying to get from subscribers from Sandcastle. And it's pretty good. It's got a lot of the features that you have in Sandcastle. And a lot of users are kind of going to that other VTT and not to Sandcastle.
Easy.
So what do you do now?
Easy. I actually already had this figured out.
Okay, yeah, good. See, I'm not saying that it's a gotcha. No. I'm just trying to be a fair GM for you in this
I'm using
role-playing game of executives and dragons.
Yeah, no. So what you do is you had the VTTs people in there, and did you literally say, look, we have a committee here, and this is going to be your team. Like, you literally will put together, they're called tiger teams. It's the technical term. So we have tiger teams, and we're going to have a tiger team for the publishers. We're going to have a tiger team for the VTTs. They'll have different tiger teams for each people, and you will have contacts. So you, Cobalt Press, will contact this team. You, Foundry and Roll20, will contact this team. And we are going to give you what you need to succeed so that you can work with us to help grow the brand. So what you do is, you're going to have your VTT, and we're going to have our VTT. But I'm going to tell you what, we're going to come out with APIs. And APIs, it's a protocol that allows 2 databases to talk to each other. And we will allow you to talk to ours, and you can talk to we can talk to each other. So we both win. because maybe people want to stay on your VTT. And yeah, we will get less money, but we can at least get some of the money. And why would you want to do that and give up some of the control? Because we will give you all of our tool sets. We'll give you access to look up the SRD instantly, access to look up spells. We are going to have it on our system, and we will give you the API tool set so that you can integrate that, and you'll have plenty of time. You can have like a year or two to integrate this and test it. We're going to give you the API tool set so you can put it into Foundry, you can put it into Roll20, and you can keep yours. We're going to pay. You got to pay for the license, which is fair, because we're going to give you stuff, and you can then charge whatever you want, and you just have to give us a payment, and we can figure out the payments either based on royalty based on the number of people who use these feature sets, which is kind of like a cable. It's like a hub and spoke model. It's like how Salesforce works, or we do one-time payments. I'd have to look into how to do that, but that's how you do it. That allows everyone to grow together, and they still become somewhat dependent on me. That's why it's called the hub and spoke model. I'm the hub, they're the spokes, and we have pretty ironclad contracts stating that we will give you all this material, and this is what the API will continue. And we come out what's called a white paper. You come out with a white paper that outlines everything so that they can then use all these great tools in their games. Are they going to be able to get better? Here's the best part. We also put into any contracts that we get first right of refusal to purchase you. So if someone wants to buy you in the future, you have to let us do a counter proposal immediately and try to buy you instead. So let's just say Foundry is doing just as well.
Yeah, let's say it's just as good as Sandcastle. Right. You gave them those extra tools.
Correct.
They're like, no problem. We will pay you for it. You're giving us so much good stuff. And then Foundry just have such good devs that they manage to make something that's pretty much getting on close on par. And then you're saying that someone else is going to try to buy out Foundry.
Yes.
So then they have to give you, Wizard Steven, in the Chris Cow spot, first chance.
Yes, we get first right of refusal, so they have to come to us and say, we got a proposal. This is standard business, by the way. This is in contracts all the time. Okay, someone is offering to buy us for, I'm just saying, $50 million. But you get first right, and you can purchase us instead. And you say, okay, and there's language in there like how this works. I won't get into those details. You say, okay, you know what? We looked at the numbers. We'll buy you for $70 million. And they're like, okay. And then now you own them. And now everyone wins. You know, like that's how you do it. That's the correct way, is that it's short-term pain, but 3 years is nothing. You know, it's like in 3 years, a lot can happen. And that is how you do it in software. That's how software development does this all the time. I'm really not reinventing the wheel, but this is how I would have done it, is that you work with them as true partners. You literally have true partnerships where they work with you, and we come out with, like, if they say, hey, WoTC, Cobalt Press here, can you give us some ideas of what spells you're coming out with for 6th edition, or how this is going to work? And we will give you access to private notes, and you can see our methodologies, our game mechanics. And it's like, this isn't final, but at least gives you a structure and a framework so you can start building out yours when you were ready to publish it. I mean, it's like, it just really wasn't that hard to do. It really wasn't. They are literally trying to bully every single person into submission. And
it seems like to me that Chris Cow didn't have your full... He had similar experience with video games or whatever, even more, because of working directly on it. Did not have your full understanding of the tabletop community, and so just thought that the strategy he actually wanted to use would work, and that it would potentially, if it worked, it would get them even more money by creating a near monopoly for stuff. And like, he's probably right that if the market was completely different than what it actually is, and people just didn't care, and we're just like, oh, first you come for the VTTs, but I don't care because I'm not a VTT. That's not how the tabletop community is. The tabletop community, I've learned, like, in tabletop games, that like when this town is being attacked. I'm not from that town, but I'm going to defend it against this rampaging dragon. And so by appraising the community, he probably thought it would work. No one would mind. It was just the VTTs and maybe a few companies that made more than 750,000 who they could paint as being like wealthy, ridiculously big corporations. They keep saying it's big corporations every time to try to do that. But people know that it includes smaller companies that have like 2 people who only a small amount of that money is actually profit.
Yep.
And so I think that they just were, it's like a game of like greed where you keep rolling the die, and if you get a 1, then it all cancels out. He was trying to go for the biggest win for himself at the expense of everything else, and it just didn't work because he didn't understand.
He doesn't understand the market, and he doesn't understand how the space works. Because I always thought, if this was interesting, is that when I was in college, I took, believe it or not, a theater class and acting class. It was actually the best class I ever took. And something they said, which I always found interesting, is that theater and acting is one of the only professions in the world that requires an audience. That you can't do it by yourself, okay? You can't just, like, act. You know, I mean, you could, but not really. You need an audience. It actually requires participation and people to visually see you do it for it to work. And I was like, that's amazing. I mean, I can't think of too many other things like that. Why I'm saying that is because Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPGs in general are very similar in the sense that you kind of need, I mean, yes, you can play by yourself, or you could even play one-on-one, but you need a group. It's one of these strange hobbies. And sports are like this too, like group sports or team sports. But this is a hobby that anyone can do, but you need groups, you need community, and it's built around community. So the problem with this right now is that he thought that he can just bully everyone and push them out of the way. I guarantee he's looking at these numbers. It's like, we're $1 billion company. Let me look at all these little companies that are a competition. They're all worth $1 million, $500,000, 100,000. Like, they're all these itty bitty teeny tiny companies, like a whole list. And he's like, we make more money in a week than all these companies combined make in a year. I will just push them out of the way, and we will force them to do what we want. That's it. And unfortunately, he vastly misunderstood the market, and more importantly, the society of role players, and that we're all in this together, and also that this is a lifestyle, not even brand, but this is a lifestyle. Like, people define their existence on playing TTRPGs. And by going after them indirectly, they're going after these companies, then they're going after me, the consumer. And that is personal. And now we're at war. And he vastly misunderstood this market. Boom. As simple as that.